Attacker FB1 is the lowest battle rating jet in British tech tree and one of the first jets able to carry secondary load. As someone who wants to be the reason why endless topics about the CAS planes ruining the game appear in forum, I had no choice but to put this vehicle in my lineup. In this video I will tell you how successful or unsuccessful the attacker is at the task of attacking. By the way, how the pilot of Attacker FB1 is called before you accumulate enough respawn points? A tanker FB1? This vehicle has a battle rating of 7.0, which already presupposes a couple of good things. First of all, there won't be many SPAs with radars, which makes flying around the battlefield much safer, since the majority of them won't be able to hit you if you keep some distance. And another thing is that there will be plenty of planes with propellers, which are noticeably slower than jets, so if someone gets on your tail, you should be able to run away easily. Both of these things meant that I was able to pay less attention to surviving and justify the name of this plane by focusing on attacking. Since I play in ground battles, of course the most interesting are the secondary load options. There are bombs or rockets. At first, I tried bombs. You can equip either a couple of 500 or 1000 pound bombs. Both of them are released at the same time, so there is only one attack and I wasn't expecting a lot of kills. But I also wasn't expecting how difficult it is to drop these bombs accurately with a fast flying jet. If I didn't want to crash, which I didn't, I had to release bombs while flying relatively far away from the target. So even 1000 pound bombs, which are not that small, were not very effective. So instead of learning to drop them more accurately, I decided to try rockets. RP3 rockets are quite common in British tech tree. They are available for many planes at various battle ratings. They are not very powerful, especially compared to bombs, but warheads contain over 5 kg of explosives, so in theory they can destroy even heavy tanks with a direct hit. But rockets have the same problems I had with bombs. Accuracy. It makes sense to shoot one rocket if that's a squishy target, because they don't need a direct hit, but when dealing with more armored opponents, it's completely usual to fire all of them and still get just a hit message and no kills. So both secondary load options have somewhat similar effectiveness. If bombs are one drop that requires less accuracy, rockets usually require a direct hit, but you can fire them 12 times. In the end, I wouldn't say that one is better than the other. They are both very random, so for the most part it's up to personal preference. Though I would prioritize bombs if I knew that there is mouse on the battlefield, because it cannot be damaged with rockets, and if there are SPAs with radars that make the airspace very dangerous, I would take rockets and try to launch them from a safe distance, hoping that a splash damage will be able to destroy them. Of course, you don't need to waste a secondary load at all when attacking light vehicles, which should be quite common thing at Attacker's battle rating. The plane has 4 20mm autocannons and can equip a belt for ground targets that can penetrate over 30mm, which is above average compared to same caliber cannons in other nations. With this belt, I was even able to penetrate roof armor of medium tanks, though of course killing more armored opponents usually requires attacking them many times and straight from above, which can be risky. So if there are light tanks that can be penetrated anywhere from any direction, it would make sense to focus on them first. Autocannons have the same problem I had with rockets and bombs: accuracy. Since they are mounted on wings, even if your aim is perfect, many bullets will not hit the target. So despite having 624 pieces of ammunition, that amount usually is not enough for a whole battle, and I had to return to the airfield from time to time. In air combat, the Attacker FB1 usually won't be able to outmaneuver other jets as long as you carry secondary load. Without it, it's around 50-50. The good thing is that plenty of planes you will meet in battles will have propellers, so you won't even need to engage in a dogfight. When I saw that I am about to be involved in a turn fight, I simply used my speed advantage to escape, and when my opponent stopped chasing me, I turned around and tried to attack them again. When chasing other planes, it's important to notice that when diving at high speeds, this plane becomes harder to control, which might end up quite bad. I wouldn't say that the attacker is good at dealing with air targets, I would prefer Meteor for that, but I was able to defend myself to some extent. The durability of this plane is average. It has self-sealing fuel tanks, a bulletproof glass, and armor plate behind the pilot. Some jets don't have even that, but I wouldn't say that these things affect survivability too much. Most opponents at Attack-as battle rating have powerful enough weapons to destroy this plane in seconds anyway. It's an attacker and not a defender after all. When playing this plane, because of its secondary load options, I expected to be better at providing close air support, but it turned out to be just acceptable. It's quite hard to hit ground targets with all types of weapons, be it bombs, rockets, or even autocannons. Since the jet requires pulling out of the dive sooner than prop planes, all these weapons that could be okay with slower planes become more difficult to use. At the same time, this jet is often matched against prop planes and is able to clear the sky thanks to its speed advantage even when carrying secondary load. And when there are no threats left, you can proceed using those bombs and rockets without rush. I would rate the Attacker FB1 5 red noses out of 10. It's not always worth spending respawn points to take this vehicle. Attacker FB1 is very sensitive to being up-tiered or down-tiered. When up-tiered, you will fight SPAs with radars and other jets, thus making this plane feel like every other plane. But when down-tiered, you will have significant advantage over enemy prop planes, even with secondary load under your wings. If you want to focus only on air combat, I would recommend taking Meteor instead, which in my opinion in ground realistic battles was more effective even despite not being able to carry secondary load.